to tell me it was too much empathy, not enough self-discipline. He knew long before I did that I'd never fight in his way. But that never stopped him from making sure I understood that I would have to fight. That I would have to find a way. Because throughout history, powers have risen that would have our liberties taken away. Unfortunately, we live in a time when those powers are as strong as ever, and they are fighting as hard as ever. In our fear and in our weakness, we've allowed laws to be put into place that strip us of our rights and our privacy, and now with the NDAA, possibly of each other. We can't even protest in the vicinity of our representatives under Secret Service protection without violating their law.
Oh, you did it.
I thought we still had the freedom of assembly, but there have been enough rubber bullets and tear gas and batons and pepper spray and LRADs and even infrared helicopters in the last year of my life that I can attest that that is no longer the case. I was raised to believe that being an American means recognizing our own responsibility for preserving the human ideal of true freedom from oppression and tyranny. That is our American tradition. Whether or not it's ever been true, or it's ever been real, it's ours. And it's worth fighting for. This system was built on the pretense that we would strive to make sure that no man shall infringe upon the liberties of another. Although, to be fair, it should have been that no person, group, corporation, or government shall infringe on the rights of another.
Yeah!
But it's not bad for a group of 18th century landowning white men. That's why we have checks and balances. One branch checks the other, and we the people of these United States, we have the duty to balance them all. It is our job to make sure that those who would represent us are doing their jobs. That our brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, our sons and daughters, our partners and our friends who vow to defend this country are not misused and that they are not forgotten. That's our job. And we failed. We have a duty to take care of our own. And we have got to hold ourselves accountable. We're responsible for allowing things to get to this point, for letting the war profiteers coax our government into battles that aren't ours, battles that have no bearing on preserving our freedoms, but instead serve as instruments to strip them from us. I wanted to say that we've forgotten what we stand for, but the truth is, we've been lied to our entire lives. And that plays into the heart of what's happening in Afghanistan. It's just more lies. And we've stood by and allowed our government and corporate interests to send the best of our generation off to foreign soil, to bleed, to sweat, and to lose pieces of their souls when they make it home. And we're sitting idly by, just letting it happen. We're allowing the VA to just shuffle these veterans around until they get no help. We've got a higher suicide rate per year than those dying in country. And all we've got are yellow ribbons on our trees and our bumpers. We've got food drives and job fairs, but what are we really doing to stop this abuse of power that has sacrificed our brothers and sisters, whether in part or in whole, for 11 years? If we're not doing something, then we are a part of this problem. Because the disease in this country is apathy. We all know what's going on. We all know there are wounded veterans coming home every day. We all know that there are boys and girls dying every day. We all know that civilians in these countries are dying every day. And we're talking. One by one, we're opening our eyes though. As a people. And we're getting back to doing our job. Gone are the days of our silence as our government sullies the spirit of our nation and does with our brothers and sisters as it pleases. A year ago, we stood up and we shouted injustice. And we found ourselves in a fight for liberty as old as time. It's a fight we all must be willing to take on from time to time, and a fight that we must never surrender. But in order to win that fight, we must end the cycle of neglect of our veterans. We could do more for our veterans. We could do more to inform the 17 and 18-year-old kids targeted by recruiters about the truth of what they're going to be asked to protect. the truth that there's been more heroin coming out of Afghanistan since the war began than before it. And our troops are the ones protecting those fields. America's at war in 2 countries because Iraq is not over. And what are we truly doing to stop it? What are we doing to support our veterans? Indeed, if not in word. We can do more, and we must do more. If we honestly expect our military to lay down arms at the risk of their own lives, if our government ever truly crosses that line, then we have better make sure that we unquestionably have got their backs. We have to do our job. We have to peacefully resist oppression, civilly disobey unjust laws, and prove that we are committed to peacefully restoring the freedoms that each of the men and women we're remembering today gave their lives, their bodies, and their minds to preserve. America is becoming more and more a corporately controlled fascist state before our eyes and before their eyes. We have the duty to make sure our brothers and sisters are no longer used as pawns of this corporate state, and our responsibility to support them and to help them for the battle that they're not expecting, the battle of coming home.
Nice.
Thank you, Melissa. Wise beyond her years. We had 2 student veterans who were going to talk to us today from San Diego City College. One was unable to attend. She, for whatever reason, will not be here today. So we'll try to carry it as best as possible. We were looking for the aspect of students and how the economy has affected and the war affects students, student veterans, as well as just your average student who comes to the community. In the last 10 years, the cost of tuition at our community college has gone up 68%. 6.8% per year. That's what budget cuts, that's what money spent on war, not spent on home, that's what it brings us. So Maria Mestasio is a woman veteran. She's also the president of the San Diego City College Student Veterans for Peace chapter this year. She also just came back from Sacramento, where she was awarded Woman Veteran of the Year by the governor and the state legislature. She's also a board member and an activist with Amicus, which is homeless outreach to women, homeless veterans, homeless women veterans with children and families, and they've established a home. I'd like you to give a warm round of applause to Maria Mestasio. Maria, come on up.
Woo!
Wow. And I'm also not a very good speaker too, so work with me on this one. Jan asked me to come up and talk to everyone about what is going on with our student veterans that are coming back and trying to go into school. Congressman Filner passed an amazing bill that our veterans could come back, get their school paid for, get their books paid for, also get a stipend and have their housing paid for. What a great, fantastic deal. But the only thing is that our people are coming back with, men and women are coming back with PTSD, combat-related stress, MST, military sexual trauma, everything on top of that. And when they come into school, you have to take a full load, which means 12 credits, or they're going to these very quick schools like Phoenix, National University, and I'm not downing them, they are very good schools, but they're very fast-paced and they don't have the help that the students need. The students come into class and they're extremely overwhelmed. They don't know they can't relate to the person sitting next to them. The person that's sitting next to them can't relate to them because they just came back seeing some of the most horrific things that they'll ever see in their life. And they become very overwhelmed and they wind up dropping out. So what happens? They lose everything. They lose all their benefits. And a lot of times they lose where they live. So then they're on the streets. Then they want to self-medicate. We get into alcohol, we get into drugs. And what we're asking, and one of the things that we started with Maurice's vision with Veterans for Peace in the Student Veterans Center at City College, that has a safe place for our student veterans to come to and talk and study and relax. And if they get overwhelmed, that they can come into this room that we've had set aside, that they can be at peace and be okay. The other things that we're also talking about was the Proposition 30, which is actually the governor's initiative, and that we're actually very much pushing this initiative to be passed. I'm voting yes on Proposition 30, because it is going to stop the budget cuts to all the education that's going on right now.
Yeah.
We need this desperately, because we are also, as everyone knows, pretty much all the city colleges have been cut during the summer. That is another thing too, that all of these veterans that are coming back and that are using their benefits during the summer, they also lose this because they cannot go to summer school. There's no classes. Most of the schools are shut down. So passing Proposition 30 is a very, very huge and very important thing. So if when it comes up to election, please vote yes, Proposition 30.
To the rest.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for coming out here and being a part of this and supporting us. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it.
Nice job.
I don't know if Maria mentioned, because I was off talking to somebody, but what veterans face with the new 9/11 GI Bill that Bob Filner was the architect of, that made this generation of veterans have benefits commensurate with what World War II veterans received. You get housing, about $1,600 a month, and you get tuition to go to school. But the only travesty is with budget cuts and with the way the wars and the economy is, if a veteran can't get 12 credits at school because of budget cuts, he doesn't qualify for the GI Bill. If he does not or she does not get college, summer school because of budget cuts, then their benefits are cut off, and they find themselves maybe having to move out of the home they're in and wait for school to begin again and wait for their GI benefits to begin again. That needs to stop. A veteran making a worthwhile effort to go to school on the GI Bill should not be penalized and thrown off the system simply because budget cuts do not allow him to find the classes or her to find the summer school that they need to continue their education. That is wrong. Okay, we're going to open this up. 2 minutes apiece. First come, first serve. Open mic. Talk about anything you want, but we're going to wrap it in 30 so we can take this apart. Stephanie Jennings from the San Diego Coalition for Peace and Justice. Did I say your name right? Oh, I'm not bad. Okay, good. She'll be first. Martin Enders will take a second, and then line up, guys.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to say something today because one of the pieces, Martin and Carol and I, as mentioned before, right after 9/11, 3 days afterwards, we got together and said, we've got to do something because we know the shit's hitting the fan. And we called a meeting, and there were over 100 people at the first Coalition for Peace and Justice meeting, and we knew that the civil liberties of Arabs and Muslims was going to be hit really hard, and we knew that the war machine was going to be cranked up even more than it already was. And little did we know how bad it was going to be, the civil liberties and the next 10 years of our lives. But it's been worse than anything we could have even imagined. And so I'm really thankful for the peace and justice community here in town, and thank you all for the work that you do. Out of that coalition came a committee called Education Not Arms Coalition, which is student, parent, and teacher activists trying to reduce the impact of military recruiters on high school campuses. Because as long as we have bodies to feed to the war machine, we will never stop the war machine. And students in high schools have no choices. They are funneled into these JROTC classes against their will, against the law. You need to get informed on what's going on in the high schools and the militarization of our educational system. And the Education Not Arms Coalition is still active, so check us out on the Project Yano website and see me afterwards if you're interested. But I also really felt compelled to talk about the moral issue of war, which is lost a lot when we get up here and we start to talk about war. And for me, I'll be damned if I'm going to only talk about how it affects us here at home, because every Afghani, every Iraqi, every Palestinian, every Syrian, every Bahraini, every victim of wars throughout history of this country is a human being at the same level of any other human being, and they are dying in the dozens, if not hundreds, for every one of us that dies. So we've got to stop this war machine, not just for our people, but for all people. And so I just want to remind us, I really want to remind us of our moral imperative and the fact that we are on the side of right. And we need to remember to contain that and hold that sense of justice and rightness inside of us. And so one of the ways movements have done it in the past is through songs. This one is a spiritual, so I apologize for that. But if you know this song, join me, because I really think it helps us to remember what our job is. And it goes, we're sisters together, we shall not be moved. We're brothers together, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree standing by the water, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree standing by the water, we shall not be moved. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. Martin Enders would like to have a couple of moments. And then we have another gentleman.
Bill Martin.
You're third and you're fourth.
I am so proud that we are still out here 11 years later telling the truth. The truth needs to be told in this country. As Stephanie said, we are and we have the moral high ground on this. The mass media will tell us that we are a distant and a radical fringe, but in fact we represent the majority of the American people. But the fact that the mass media has told us and has gotten the American people to believe that anti-war, pro-peace positions are a minority position is just a symbol of the misinformation that Melissa was talking about up here. I want to remember just for a few minutes a year ago in Occupy, and one of the things that most impressed me are the number of homeless, the number of young student activists, the number of people in the progressive community that stood up and said, I love you. I love you all. And that's what I feel for all of you and for us. I love people who stand up and resist oppression, that stand up and resist the horrors of war, that stand up and resist empire and genocide, that remember and understand those Afghanis who are dying are no less than we are, and that understand that racialized politics has been at the core, the central core of oppression in this country and class domination, the dividing. We would not be sending drones over a European country and bombing them in the same way we feel justified to do in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in Pakistan. We think of ourselves, the United States, our empire is a little bit more humane than to bomb white people. But it shows the deprivation on the mentality, the lack of a moral standard. And that's why, you know, our love for each other and our love for humanity must stand as one of the founding principles of this peace movement. Hugs and love to all of you, and may we continue the struggle against empire and resist that oppression. Thank you.
Oh, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. This young man here would like to speak. Come on up. What's your name? James. James.
James, yeah.
James will do. Here's James.
Hey there. It's great to see everybody out here today. I just have a message for any activists out here today who are interested in ending the war, that San Diego now has its very own branch of the Answer Coalition, which stands for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. We are a grassroots anti-war organization that was started in 2001 directly after the September 11th attacks. In the wake of those attacks, there was much racism against Muslim people, against any people really that were deemed to look Muslim, even Sikhs. And that's why we included the racism part in our title. We see this systemic racism in America, and we tie it to the wars. We see the connection. You know, so I just wanted to let everybody know about this new organization. Eric over here has some sign-up sheet if you guys want to find out about our events that are coming up. On October 12th, we are having Anti-Columbus Day, a Truth About Columbus Day event here in San Diego over at the Headquarters Cafe, past 56 on El Cajon. If you want to hear any more information about any of this or about the Answer Coalition, just talk to Eric or I right here.
Why don't you hold it and let me go see. See if I get.
6 p.m.
I kind of stumble over what we're doing yet.
It's October 12th at 6 p.m. at the Headquarters Cafe.
And he's got flyers.
Yep.
Let's see. There's John Brayler.
Also known as Judge Buster. So anyway, I went to court, and the first thing they did was offer to dismiss my plea guilty to not disturbing the peace. And I said, hello, okay, so anyway, I went to court, and the first thing they did is offer to dismiss the case if I would plead guilty to disturbing the peace. And I said, well, I don't think I can go 6 months without disturbing the peace. And secondly, $2,000 and 2 years in jail is just too good a deal to pass up as an opportunity to bring liberty and justice for all. The guy goes, okay, what's with the monkey? I have a little chimpanzee with me. I said, it's not a chimpanzee monkey, it's a chimpanzee. He says, what's it for? I says, I have a right to a trial by a jury of my peers, do I not? He says, absolutely. I said, well, these 12 people that are about to come in on my trial here, they're not my peers. They are 98.3% chimpanzee. And MRI studies have now shown that when we are in the presence of someone who will have an effect on our income, our survival basically, smiles at us, it actually increases the dopamine in our hippocampus, which triggers the neurons that are created there from stem cells on a regular basis, but are kind of reserved for spikes in dopamine, such as when an alpha, who's about to say, yeah, your survival is guaranteed for a while, smiles at us. They also have another part of their mind that was discovered in the same study, which when we detect visually, these are all nonverbal facial communications relating back to when we were chimpanzees before we learned English. When he is not happy with us, if he indicates any disfavor, it actually makes us physically nervous. Well, you can figure out if that the triggering of the memory is by increasing dopamine. If you severely drop dopamine to the point it makes you nervous, you're not going to be able to hear a damn thing that goes on. And the judge goes, well, are you telling me you want to use this training aid, this chimpanzee to tell him that? I says, yeah, I'm saying I have a right to a jury of my peers. Now, I am your peer because I understand this control you have and the fact that you can actually dictate this jury's decision by smiling when the prosecution is up and being disfavorable, which you will be when I'm up. He says, well, I'm not going to let you tell you that. He says, what else you got? I said, well, secondly of all, I'm going to put my camera right up here on you. And he says, what's that for? I says, I'm saying every defendant has an absolute right to a, this will only take a few minutes. Oh. Okay. Every defendant has an absolute right to a record of all communication that takes place in a courtroom, including facial, nonverbal communications by which you can dictate this jury's decisions. He says, well, what else you got? I'm not going to allow you to do that. I said, well, thirdly, all the oath you take to protect, defend, and preserve the Constitution of the United States is an absolute fraud, because it does not say what it implies. What it implies is that you will abide by the limitations and conditions therein. That's not what it says, but it is a misrepresentation relied on because they are 98.3% chimpanzee. He goes, well, I'm not going to let you do that. So anyway, I end up getting fined $11,750 instead of the $2,000, which was the maximum they said I could be found for. And I guess my time's up. Anyway, that's what I'm doing to provide liberty and justice for all. I'm saying without these three rights, none of our other rights are really rights. They're only privileges which they can violate at any time. And without these rights, they do. And without these rights, we cannot take them to court in front of a jury, because they will simply dictate the decision unconsciously and subliminally to the jury, as they do now. So they reserve these three rights, which are more important than any of our rights, in order to be able to violate all of our other rights. And that's what I'm doing about it.
Thank you very much, John.
The whole thing is that it's on WordPress. You can just go in Judge Buster, the #1, or Freedom for All for the very first time.
Thanks again. Fred Schultz would like to take a few moments of your time. Come on up, Fred. There you go. Stay away from the other.
Okay, thanks for letting me talk for a minute. I'll try to keep it at 2-minute stops. Whoops, watch it. Watch it.
She needs a little prodding.
Oh, no, it's on the... Okay.
She doesn't want to do it.
Okay, got it. Here we go. Okay, I'm Fred Schultz, and you probably haven't heard from me. It's my fault, but I am running for president. I realize it's a tight... whatever. We're down to 30 days. I've been fucking up. I mean, I should have done a better job of this. I haven't even raised any money, but I'm going to try to raise like 10 grand and drive around the country this last month if all goes well. If not, I'm just going to rant on YouTube. And if the votes are there for me, I mean, if the polls start to turn in the end, I'll stay in the race. If not, I'll just throw it to Obama the night before. But, because, you know, what's his name? Mitt talks about more war, not less, although he doesn't talk about it much because I think he just wants to sneak it in. But anyway, let's just talk about war for a minute. I mean, this whole war in Afghanistan, I mean, this happened because we had 10 guys or 20 guys, whatever, with box cutters who decided to take some airplanes. Now, granted, that's a horrible thing. That's a very horrible thing. But you don't go and launch a world war because you got 10, 20 guys with box cutters. You go and find the 10, 20, maybe 20, 30, 40 more, and that's it. It doesn't take a war. It takes, you know, they even had bin Laden cornered in the mountains, and they just let him go. And I just spoke to somebody today who told me that her husband knows that they were given orders, the special forces, to stand down when they had bin Laden cornered. So, for whatever reason that was. In any case, we did not have to take over that country. We certainly didn't need to take over Iraq. And I'll just tell you, my whole, in a nutshell, my policy is to only tax the very, very, very wealthy, and that means on net worth and not on income. Tax only the 1% or half of 1% even, but tax them like, say, 5%, 6% of their net worth. And that everybody else doesn't pay a dime because nobody else has a dime. We're all barely surviving. And then we could have enough money to pay for the schools, to pay for the health care, and cut the insurance companies out, to, you know, we got to end this war on drugs. I mean, the fact is, and that's what this Free the 2 Million is about. We have 2 million people in, okay, I got to hurry up. Okay, we got 2 million people in federal prisons for, non-victimless crimes. That's mostly drug use. And just so you know, the military is talking in the New York Times every day now that we're winding down the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, now we have to ramp up the war on drugs. And that means military in every country in the world, and Bradley Manning talks about this too in his papers they release, fighting a secret war against those people. And sure, the governments can convince them that it's about drugs, but what is it really about? It's about keeping them in power. It's about strafing peasants with guns. It's about dusting their communities with poison to poison their crops so that they don't grow drugs. This is insane. Okay, I guess I gotta go. Let me just say one quick thing. If you're ever on a jury, remember one thing. You have a right to vote vote not guilty. The judge won't tell you this, but you have a right to vote not guilty if you even don't like the law. They won't tell you this, and if you tell them that you know of this right, they'll throw you off the jury. But for the first 150 years of our country, it's called jury nullification. You should Google it. And you have a right, if you don't like the law, to vote not guilty, and I highly encourage you to do it, please. And by the way, my website is at fantasyfreddy.com, has the whole platform and my other paintings and stuff. Okay, love you all. Thank you so much. Bye.
Fantasy Freddy?
Yeah.
FantasyFreddy.com. Okay. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Watch out for your step there, brother. What was his name? Avery would like to speak.
Thank you. I would just like to draw the connection between these wars that are happening and the difficulties in ending these wars to capitalism. Because capitalism is a system of economic competition, but because it's a system of economic competition, it becomes a system of military competition. The U.S., neither Romney nor Obama will withdraw from Iraq or Afghanistan unless forced, not because of Iraq or Afghanistan primarily, but because they're fighting a global war for spheres of influence with China, Russia, Europe, the other rich countries. This is very deeply rooted, and that's why then capitalism sets up a political system that makes it very difficult to end the wars. It creates a two-party system. One party is better than the other party. It would not work as a system to contain dissent unless one of the parties was better than the other one. But it's better in order to co-opt us. And that's why I think today was a success. The numbers do not discourage me at all, because we have a system that right now, as the elections approach, is doing its best. This is their best shot to convince people not to maintain their independence as activists, not to maintain protests because, oh, we might embarrass the better one. But we're out here, we did it, they're doing it all over the world. We cannot expect to end the war with this protest today, of course. But the fact that we're here, in spite of the capitalist political system's sophisticated attempt to tell us that all we should do is vote for the one who's a little better, means that in the future, when their attack on our independence is less, we will be stronger.
Thank you very much, Avery. Kathy was scheduled to speak, but Occupy, she volunteered and then Occupy selected somebody else. She'd like to speak now, and we are happy to have her. Come on up. She's with the Committee Against Police Brutality. Come up, Kathy. And we're going to let Kathy have the 6 minutes that she would have normally got from speaking. So here you go, Kathy. Take it away. Woo! You got 8.
As Jan said, I'm from the Committee Against Police Brutality. This year marks 11 years of the U.S. military's presence in Afghanistan. We were told as the bombs fell on this day that the Taliban government was in alliance and in full support of Osama bin Laden. We were told that the U.S. armed forces thus were in a long process of war and occupation to free Afghanistan from bin Laden, the terrorists, and the Taliban government as open supporters of terrorism. According to writer Gore Vidal, Afghanistan was and is an area that is with the right deal with the Taliban government there. Pipelines for energy could be built that would make massive profits for energy companies. In July 2001, 2 months before 9/11 and 3 months before Afghan war, a group of interested parties met in a Berlin hotel to listen to a former State Department official, Lee Coldren. According to Vidal, Coldren told the Berlin gathering that Bush was disgusted with the Taliban and was considering military action. Since that war began, it was discovered that under the Afghani soil, there lies nearly 1 trillion in untapped mineral deposits. Iron, copper, cobalt, gold, and critical industrial metals like lithium are so big and include so many minerals that are essential to modern industry that Afghanistan could eventually be transformed into one of the most important mining centers in the world. This 11-year action fits the definition of colonialism and neocolonialism. A wealthy and powerful government guided by elites use force upon other nations and peoples for their enrichment of those elites. Words and phrases such as war on terror, protecting our freedom, and the older, civilizing the world, and saving souls are used to justify the distribution of our regions of wealth from indigenous of that area into pockets of the already wealthy. This action, now 11 years old, is similar to what occurred in Africa since the 15th and 1600s, and in today's Europe, powerful nations and their elites. And then would establish colonies of their own people while taking vast wealth in agriculture, minerals, and slaves. This wealth would either strengthen or create new empires in Europe, and later the U.S., while depriving the Africans of their rights to develop the wealth and even lose their right to be free human beings as they become commodities to be sold off as well. Many wars and people struggles later, the naked and open colonialism that spread across the world has been replaced into the more insidious cloaked actions of neo-colonialism, or also known as imperialism. This system has corporations consistently seeking new markets to produce goods with exploited labor and taking jobs out of the country of origin, thus impoverishing the people living there. The corporations are headquartered. According to Robert E. Gammer, we are controlled by the new type of colonizers, who are tiny corporate entities that have no loyalty to nations, and indeed in the language of their traditional patriotism. Excuse me. They are traitors. Sorry. Sorry. They strip us of our resources, keep us politically passive, and enrich themselves at our expense. Sorry.
Prize fighter.
Sorry. The writer Franz Fanon wrote that the colonized are denied job security, incomes are reduced to subsistence level, the poor are plunged into desperation. Mass movements such as labor unions are dismantled. The school system is degraded so only the elites can have access to superior education. Laws are written to legalize corporate plunder and abuse, as well as criminalize dissent. Massive job losses promote fear and instability. This ensures political passivity and diverting all personal energy towards survival. Sure, neocolonialism may be a new term with slicker rules, but it is still an old game at our expense.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do the colonial imperialist actions described in Afghanistan, Africa, and upon the new economy colonized here in the U.S. have to do with a group that seeks to stop police brutality? Very simply, to assert its control over who we are frightened for, who we are frightened for our futures and our livelihoods, who are trying to organize against this unjust system. The state and the elites can and will use police to maintain the system to keep people in line and even in fear. Laws can and will be selectively enforced. Bureaucracies will drag lawsuits against police abuse and give out light sentences and even dismiss charges, thus frustrating and demoralizing and depleting the efforts of those who simply want the law to apply fairly. In the recent police shooting of Officer Grant, a New Year's Day reveler in the view of scores of people on a BART platform, the state dragged its feet, despite eyewitnesses and more than ample footage captured by camera phone users. The officer was given manslaughter rather than a murder charge. In Arizona, the Maricopa County Sheriff, Joe Arpaio, imposes the worst camp conditions on detainees while forcing them to wear pink underwear. The detainees are mostly Mexican immigrants who suffer from the worsening economic conditions brought about by the collapse of the agriculture in Mexico due to corporate flooding of cheap crops there. In Oakland, New York, Los Angeles, and San Diego, the Occupy movement and its supporters from day one have been harassed, arrested, and beaten. They are deprived of the right to assemble. Why? The message is not popular with the elites. In contrast, the Tea Party rallies have had attendees show up armed with loaded handguns, but were left alone. CAPB, the Committee Against Police Brutality, stands with those who are abused by police misconduct, and the abused are we the people who are waking up to the fact that this war has begun 11 years ago, as well as the Iraq wars and other parts of colonialism that is in danger of being destroyed by its own excess. We the people, we the 99%, will only win a just world if we stay united against legal and economic abuse. Dismantling an unjust system will take struggle and time, but working together, it can be done. Woo!
Thank you, Kathy. You hit the nail on the head in so many important areas.
Kathy for president!
Catherine would like to speak for a moment. I think she'd like to speak from the front of the stage, because she has these two attack-trained colleagues.
Hello, my name is Catherine, and I just kind of wanted to tell you about something that I think is just very much terrible here in San Diego. It has to do, and we actually are going forward and actually doing a little better. But what happened is redevelopment here in San Diego takes $200 million of our tax money and uses it to subsidize luxury condos in order to create more tax increment. Because if you spend money on luxury projects, you're going to get more money back. And so what happened, according to HUD and the Inspector General, is that this downtown redevelopment stole $224 million of federal money, and they have not, and the city has only allowed 78 million of it to actually come back. But there's actually so much money here and so much wealth that was created with these federal funds that was invested in great projects. So what I always try to say is now the homeless or all the poor in San Diego are really rich if we actually get access to this money. So there's $200 million right now, and instead of it going back into our general fund, we have a new thing in San Diego called Civic San Diego that took over $1 billion in assets. They took over the like $7 million that we have in parking fees for our parking garages around here. All the money from the leases of the building that the city owns. It's now going to administration for the former CCDC officials. And I just think that's very unjust. And the only person that's helping us be able to get this money is Congressman Filner. And so I just hope you guys support him, because we could actually end homelessness as soon as he's in office. The money is there, it's just being hidden and it's being hoarded by both the CCDC, the downtown establishment, and also the people at the County of San Diego. They're hoarding money that is meant for the poor. And one of the worst things that they did is when redevelopment came here, they said, we can only spend this $200 million on brick and mortar projects. Homeless people are not considered a form of blight. If you see a homeless person, that's not blight. You can spend this money on flower pots, and right here is a wonderful thing to show exactly what their priorities are. They have given $28 million to the Port of San Diego as a gift to do this North Embarcadero Visionary Plan. That's $24 million or $28 million that we could use for anything, including solving our homeless problem here. So there's money here, there's wealth here. We just have to get that wealth back to the people instead of all the people that have stolen it from us for so long. Thank you.
Yay, Catherine! Woo!
Thank you, Catherine. Don't you have a website?
No.
Someplace where you can gather the information?
I gave it to Jack Doxey.
Can you tell the folks here?
I have some information that I gave to Jack Doxey before.
My apologies. I thought there was a website we could direct you to. Anoka would like to speak and make an announcement regarding GA for Occupy.
Light check.
Mic check.
Mic check. All right, so we're going to be having our People's GA. We'd love for everybody to come who's never taken part in what an Occupy GA is all about. What a GA? A GA is a General Assembly. This is how Occupy itself makes group decisions. We believe in a consensus-based model without any type of leadership or hierarchy. And so we basically get into a big circle and we talk about the things that are important. We make proposals, we make committee announcements, things like that. We'd love for everybody to join us. We would like for everybody to take part, talk about what's important to them, and see what the whole process is about. So that's going to happen at around 3 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock now, so take an hour to get a little bit of grub, to look around, to talk to people, and look for us. We'll be in a circle somewhere on the grass. Thank you very much. Occupy.
Wendy Sue would like to come up along with the San Diego Acapella Chorus and serenade us on the way out.
Thank you. I'd like to call up all of the Women Occupy San Diego members of Acapella to come and sing with us. And if you know the song, please join in. Occupy your mind today, learn what's really going on. Be an individual against a corporation. So whatever can we do for a long, hard road to go? Amend the Constitution that will bring us back to occupy and take a stand against injustice in this land. You and me together can win against a corporation. So whatever can we do? Demand that Congress change its ways. Get money out of politics that will bring us back to you. We have one more short song that we know that the Occupies, San Diego Occupy.
Everybody's song.
So sing along with us. Ready?
I just know
Oh, okay. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Occupation makes us strong. Again. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Occupation makes us strong.
I got the whole thing. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Anyone else know the song? Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one, but the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Occupation makes us strong.
Gonna make an announcement?
It is we who plowed the prairies, built the city.